There is 100 million naira in this suitcase. Take it and stay away from my son.
100 million? You came all the way here for this?
Name your price. 100 million? 200 million? I don't care. Just disappear from David's life.
No!
Let's stop pretending. Girls like you always want something. Now take it.
If money could buy love, rich people wouldn't cry.
You have no idea what you are getting yourself into.
And you have no idea who you're talking to.
Sometimes, the biggest stories begin in the most unexpected places. Not in palaces, not in boardrooms, not in mansions, but in ordinary places where ordinary people are simply trying to survive. Long before Chief Okeke arrived with a suitcase full of money, long before secrets began crawling out of the shadows, long before anyone discovered the truth about Amaka, there was a young woman with grease on her hands and determination in her heart. Her name was Amaka. Amaka had spent most of her life fighting. Not with people, not with enemies, but with life itself. She grew up believing she was an orphan. The woman who raised her had died when she was still young. The little information she had about her past was confusing and incomplete. There were no photographs, no family records, no childhood stories, nothing. But instead of allowing hardship to break her, she became stronger because of it. While many people expected women to pursue easier professions, Amaka chose a different path. She became a mechanic. And not just any mechanic, one of the best in Enugu. Many customers were shocked whenever they saw her. Some doubted her abilities, some laughed, some refused to allow her to touch their vehicles until they saw her walk. Then suddenly, the laughter disappeared. Every day she woke before sunrise, walked under the scorching sun, returned home exhausted, and repeated the cycle again. Not because life was easy, but because giving up was never an option. Unknown to her, fate had already begun preparing something much bigger. Across the city, another life was unfolding. A completely different life. A life surrounded by wealth, luxury, influence, and privilege. David Okeke was born into one of the wealthiest families in Enugu. From childhood, his future had already been planned. The best schools, the best opportunities, the best connections, everything money could provide. Yet despite having everything, something was missing. Many people admired him because of his family's wealth. Others admired him because of his status. Some admired him because of what they hoped to gain from him. But very few people saw David for who he truly was. Beneath the expensive suits, beneath the luxury cars, beneath the family name, was a young man quietly searching for something real, something genuine, something money couldn't buy. Unfortunately, his father had very different plans. Chief Okeke had spent decades building his empire. And like many powerful men, he believed success should be controlled, managed, directed, even within his own family. His father had very different plans. He wanted David to marry within their social class, a woman from a wealthy family, a woman who would strengthen business relationships, a woman who fit perfectly into the future he had carefully designed. Love was not part of that calculation. For years, David obeyed. For years, he followed expectations. For years, he played the role everyone wanted him to play. Until one afternoon, everything changed. It was a particularly hot day in Enugu. Traffic was heavy, the roads were crowded. The city moved with its usual energy. Then, unexpectedly, David's luxury SUV developed a fault. At first, he assumed it was something minor, a simple issue, nothing serious. But within minutes, the vehicle came to a complete stop. Right beside a busy roadside mechanic workshop. The kind of place people like David normally drove past without noticing. At the time, he had no idea that the breakdown would become one of the most important moments of his life. Because waiting for him inside that workshop, covered in engine oil, was a woman whose past was buried beneath 25 years of secrets. A woman whose future would become permanently connected to his. And a woman whose true identity would eventually shake two powerful families to their foundations. The broken SUV had unknowingly arrived at the exact place destiny wanted it to be. And from that moment forward, nothing would ever be the same again. The moment David stepped out of his SUV, he was irritated. Not because the repair would cost money. Money had never been a problem for him. He was irritated because his carefully planned day had suddenly been interrupted. And David hated interruptions. But sometimes, the interruptions we dislike the most become the blessings we need the most. As he looked around the workshop, his eyes landed on a young woman walking beneath a vehicle. Her movements were confident, precise, experienced. She walked with the kind of focus that comes from years of practice. The kind of focus that leaves no room for distractions. David watched quietly, curious. Most female mechanics he had seen before worked inside organized garages. Yet, here was a young woman walking in the middle of a busy roadside workshop, surrounded by noise, heat, dust, and endless challenges. what impressed him wasn't just her skill. It was her confidence. She carried herself like someone who had nothing to prove to anyone. For Amaka, the customer standing nearby was no different from every other customer. She didn't care about his expensive clothes. She didn't care about his luxury vehicle. And she certainly didn't care about his family name. To her, he was simply another person with a faulty car. That alone made her different from almost everyone David knew. Most people treated him differently the moment they discovered who he was. Some became overly polite. Others became overly friendly. Many became overly interested. But Amaka remained exactly the same. And somehow, that fascinated him. The repair took less than an hour. Yet David remained longer than necessary, watching, observing, listening. For the first time in a very long time, he found himself enjoying a simple conversation. No business, no family expectations, no discussions about money, just two people talking. When he finally left, he expected that would be the end of it. A random encounter, a brief interruption, a forgotten memory. Instead, he found himself thinking about her. The following day, he remembered her smile. The day after that, he remembered her laughter. A few days later, he realized he was looking for excuses to return. At first, he convinced himself it was curiosity. Then, friendship. Then, admiration. Eventually, he stopped lying to himself. He was falling in love. Meanwhile, Amaka was beginning to notice something unusual. The same customer kept returning again and again and again. Sometimes the vehicle needed repairs. Sometimes it didn't. Yet somehow, he always appeared. At first she found it amusing, then suspicious, then strangely comforting. Without realizing it, she had begun looking forward to his visits. Weeks passed. The friendship deepened. Trust grew naturally, slowly, comfortably, without pressure, without expectations. David learned about her determination, her resilience, her refusal to give up despite life's difficulties. Amaka discovered a different side of David. A side hidden beneath the wealth. The side that felt trapped by expectations. The side searching for purpose. The side longing for something genuine. For the first time, both of them felt understood. And understanding is often where love begins. Unfortunately, not everyone was happy. Across the city, someone else was paying attention. Vanessa. She had known David for years. Long before Amaka entered the picture. Long before the mechanic workshop. Long before the broken SUV. From the outside, she appeared calm, confident, successful. But beneath the surface, she was becoming increasingly uncomfortable. Every time David spoke about Amaka, she noticed the change in his voice. Every time he smiled after receiving a message, she noticed. Every time he cancelled plans because he was busy elsewhere, she noticed. And she knew exactly why. The realization hurt more than she expected. Because deep down, she had always believed there would eventually be a future between them. But now, another woman had entered the picture. A woman she considered completely unworthy of David. Jealousy rarely announces itself immediately. It grows quietly, patiently, almost invisibly. And that was exactly what was happening. Meanwhile, a completely different problem was beginning to emerge. One afternoon, while Amaka walked beneath a customer's vehicle, an elderly blind man passed near the workshop. Then suddenly, he stopped. His walking stick slipped from his hand. His body became rigid, and a strange expression crossed his face. The old man turned slowly towards Amaka, as if sensing something impossible, something he never expected to encounter again. For several seconds, he simply stared. Then, fear appeared in his eyes. Real fear. Moments later, he hurried away, leaving confusion behind. Amaka quickly dismissed the incident. After all, she had never seen the man before. Why would she think about it? But David couldn't forget. Something about the encounter felt wrong. The old man's reaction had been too emotional, too personal, too intense. It felt less like recognition and more like someone seeing a ghost. Days passed, but the mystery remained. Then strange things began happening. Small things at first, easy to ignore. An unfamiliar car parked near the workshop for several hours, watching, waiting, then leaving. A stranger asked unusual questions about Amaka, then disappeared. Someone appeared to be gathering information, watching from a distance, studying her life. And the most disturbing part, nobody knew why. Unbeknownst to Amaka, a secret buried 25 years earlier had begun to move. like a sleeping giant, slowly waking up. The past had remained silent for decades. Now, it was beginning to speak. And when it finally revealed itself, it would shake everything. Families, relationships, friendships, identities. Even the people involved had no idea